yet another in the series on the paramitas and their semi-associated realms. All right, so this week we're going to be doing, we're continuing the path that we started. We did the heavens, then we did the Ashara realm and the Deva realm, and now we're doing the hungry ghosts. What I wanted to start off with today is going to be, as we had mentioned, generosity is kind of the antidote to the hungry ghost. The hungry ghost, as you'll recall, I'll try and see if I can't dig up an image and put it into the video here. The hungry ghosts are these beings that, due to their greed in past lives, due to their inability or unwillingness to be generous, they have come back as beings who have these gigantic bellies, right? And are always hungry, as a greedy person would be, right? And they have tiny little mouths. They can only take in 1 grain of rice or 1 drop of water, which is never going to fill them up, right? So that's where they are, and that's what they do. They keep going around looking for food, trying to find ways to get satiated. It doesn't happen. So the counter to that, obviously, if the cause is greed, then, or if the, as it were, disease is greed, then the medicine is generosity. Right? And so I've selected a bunch of passages. Most of these can be found on Access to Insight, who put together a very good little compendium of all the verses on generosity. You just go to accesstoinsight.org and then up in the search box type in generosity is like the first one. It's really good. It really is. And I utilized a whole bunch of them from that, and then I also utilized one from the longer Pure Land Sutra, just to kind of show you the similarities there, right? Because as I said from the first video on this series, on the series on samsara, both, and actually on the paramitas, both parts, or really all parts of the Buddhist world, say generosity is huge. It's this important thing, and you should totally do it, right? Well, we're about to learn why. Because this is kind of important. Do try and pay attention, right? So, starting off, never underestimate the power of small gifts, right? And now I could have gone with the one where the Buddha is talking about even a handful of rice flour given by a child in the spirit of generosity produces merit. Rice flour being obviously worthless. Actually, that one's really good as well. But I'm going off of the one that Access to Insight put up instead, which is very similar. Which is, even if a person throws the rinsings of a bowl or a cup into the village pool or pond, thinking, may whatever animals live here feed on this, that will be a source of merit. And the key to this one, I'm going to go through these, each one kind of short, and then kind of a short explanation as well. All right, so kind of keep it a little bit, kind of keep it flowing a little bit. All right, so the key to this one is, what we've got here is a person rinsing out a bowl. So this is like your dishwater, right? And as you're doing imagine you're doing your dishes and you have some stuff, foodstuffs left over on it. Even if you throw that out with the mindset, right, with the thought, may whatever animals live here feed on this. And it can be small animals, little microbes, whatever. That would be a source of merit. Why? Because you're doing it in the spirit of generosity. It doesn't even matter that it's like waste. What matters is that you are giving that as a measure of generosity, as a measure of your humanity, of your caring about others, your compassion for others, right? That's the key right there. Okay. Overcoming miserliness. Conquer anger with lack of anger. Bad with good. Stinginess with a gift. A liar with truth. What the miser fears that keeps him from giving is the very danger that comes when he doesn't give. No misers go to the world of the devas. Those who don't praise giving are fools. The enlightened express their approval for giving and so find ease in the world beyond. Most of this should be, fairly common sense, right? So, what a miser would fear is losing their wealth, right? So, as we've said before, that very thing which keeps that person from giving, that greed, is the very thing that takes that away. Not necessarily, in this round on the wheel of samsara, but it's coming. It's coming. Right? Also, you conquer stinginess with a gift. And the Buddha is real clear on that one. It's plain as day, right? That's how you get past miserliness. That's how you get past that self-centered desire to keep your stuff, by giving it away, right? You combat stinginess, you combat miserliness, you combat greed by a gift, by generosity. And that's what we're talking about. Moving on just a little bit. And this will be the last one out of, actually not the last one, next to last one out of the Access to Insight passages that I'm going to go through. Giving even one's last meal. And this one is so important, right? Because this is the Buddha explaining exactly what he sees that we don't, right? If beings knew, as I know, the results of giving and sharing, they would not eat without having given, nor would the stain of miserliness overcome their minds. Even if it were their last bite, their last mouthful, they would not eat without having shared, if there was someone to receive their gift. But because beings do not know, as I know, the results of giving and sharing, they eat without having given. The stain of miserliness overcomes their minds. You give because it prevents that stain, that permanent condition of greed, of miserliness, from taking root, right? You give because otherwise that's going to take place, right? And it's important to give because the results are so important. Not just in that you prevent the stain of miserliness from attaching itself to you, but also because you can then demonstrate your generosity, and you can generate that merit that the Buddha is talking about by giving, right? And he's real clear on this one. Even if it was your last meal, even if that was the last bite you were ever going to take, you would share it with somebody because you knew the merit that it would produce. And it does. Giving produces lots of merit. It makes us better people. And that's why the Buddha is saying to do it. And we can do that. Right? Okay. Last one from the Access to Insight passages. How a person of integrity gives a gift. So we've talked about why we need to give the gift. We've talked about what it does and what will happen if we don't. But how do you do that? How do you give that gift? Because we're supposed to be people of integrity, right? That's kind of what we do. So, these 5 are a person of integrity's gifts. Which 5? A person of integrity gives a gift with a sense of conviction. A person of integrity gives a gift attentively. A person of integrity gives a gift in season. A person of integrity gives a gift with an empathetic heart. A person of integrity gives a gift without adversely affecting himself or others. Right? So, what we see here, we see a lot of stuff. Right? This is a really powerful passage, and I probably should have just gone straight to this one from the beginning, but lesson learned. So, let's go through them one by one, right? first you give a gift with a sense of conviction. That's because you know what that's going to result in. You know that there's going to be merit generated by your gift. And you know that that's a good thing. You know that that's the right thing to do. You give because it's the right thing to do, because it's good to give. Not because, oh, well, I kind of have to. Or, oh, well, you know, these guys put out that bucket in front of the store. Maybe I should just give them a change. No, that does not produce any merit. Giving deliberately with conviction, saying, I'm going to give because it's good, because it's the right thing to do. That's why you give. And that's how a person of integrity gives, right? Same thing with giving a gift attentively, right? You give attentively because you are aware of what you're doing. So you don't, you give this gift, right, with conviction because it's the right thing to do. And you're aware that it's the right thing to do. You're doing this deliberately. You're not like just, oh, hey, well, I wasn't planning on this, but here's $50. Whatever, whatever example you want to use. It's, I know that giving is the right thing to do. I'm going to give you a gift. I'm going to watch and make sure that what I'm doing, I'm attentive to what I'm doing, and I'm doing it with that awareness that says, this is the right thing to do. So, person of integrity gives a gift in season. This one is interesting because we could take this all over the park. Say my unit was going out to the field and I brought ice cream in January. What? That'd be so incredibly stupid, right? I'd be a fool for doing that. Nobody wants ice cream in the field in January. Hot cocoa would be a totally different story. Right? That's giving a gift in season. Right? So knowing when the gift is going to be best received. Right? Again, going back to that attentive piece, because you have to be aware in order to give in season. Right? A person of integrity gives a gift with an empathetic heart. This one is so key, right? We've talked about compassion time and time and time again. And as you're going about, the act of giving, you have to make sure that your heart is in the right place, that you're doing this because you care. Not because, you're doing it because it's good and it's the right thing to do, and you care that it's good and it's the right thing to do. And you care about making sure that you're doing the right thing and you're helping someone else with this gift, right? That's how you give with an empathetic heart. And in order not to ramble, I'm just going to move on from that one. A person of integrity gives a gift without adversely affecting himself or others. So, we can take this one all across the park too. So, say you were going to try and give somebody a nuclear bomb. Would that be a good gift that would not adversely affect themselves or others? No, obviously not. You don't give those as gifts. You don't sit there and be like, oh, here's some plutonium I found, or oh, here's a bomb, or here's a grenade that I found. Have at it. That's going to damage them. That's going to adversely affect them and you, really, because the gift is not being given in the right spirit, and it's not the right gift. It's not something that you give someone, right? So, a person of integrity gives a gift without adversely affecting himself or others. How do we do that? By looking at it and really reflecting on it, right? So, all throughout this, we have this awareness piece, we have this conscientious piece, we have this, you're giving this gift out of conviction because it's the right thing to do, right? You have this deliberateness about it. And if you're really being deliberate, you're reflecting on that gift itself and saying, this is the right thing to do, and I'm giving this out of a good heart. I'm giving this attentively. I'm giving this when it's the right time for it. And I'm giving it in a sense because I've taken a look at it and I've really reflected on this gift isn't going to hurt you. It isn't going to hurt me either, right? So a lot of times people, particularly, you see this a lot with people with family members who are, shall we say, narcissistic or maybe have other conditions, right? Where they become enablers because this person with this problem, right, with this condition, always needs more, always needs stuff, right? So, oh, I got in a car accident, I need a new car, give me a car. There's your car. Even though I can't pay for it, even though I'm, hurting myself in the process, that's not how a person of integrity gives, right? You don't enable bad decisions and bad choices by giving a gift. Giving a gift that is going to be misutilized and is going to end up hurting both you, the other, or the other, right? That's not how you give a gift with integrity, right? So, having looked at that, I'm going to move right along onto the longer Pure Land Sutra. This is section 95 and 97. And what they're looking at is the case of a beggar versus the case of a sovereign emperor, right? In terms of like how they are perceived, right? So looking at the case of the beggar, this man finds himself in a situation so miserable because during all of his previous lives, he did not cultivate the roots of virtue. Whenever he was able to acquire wealth, he did not give of it. Whenever he was able to become rich, he only thought of his own profit and became a miser. He sought only to increase his wealth, always more and more, without ever being content, and he did not have faith in the cultivation of the good. He accumulated a mountain of evil actions, and at the end of his life, his riches and his treasure were dispersed. We saw that again in some of the other passages. He brought pain upon his own body and piled misery on himself. He did nothing to benefit others. Without good actions, what could he rely on? Without merit, where could he place his trust? This is why when he died, this beggar fell into the unfortunate rebirths, where he experienced the long torments of those rebirths. Finally, he has managed to be reborn as this person, so low and stupid that he barely seems a human being. That's a pretty damning statement. Whenever he was able to become rich, he only thought of his own profit and became a miser. He sought only to increase his wealth. Do we not see this in our own society all the time? Do we not? Yes, we do. And you know where all of those people are going? Hungry Ghost Land. Have fun with that giant belly and that tiny little mouth. Actually, don't go there. Down boots, I'm trusting that you won't go there, right? I'm trusting that you will be generous in whatever way you can, right? Noting, of course, that in all contexts, material giving is nowhere near as good, nowhere near as important as giving the Dharma, teaching others, showing them by example what it means to really be a good person. I mean, yeah, obviously material gifts are going to help with that because they can see that, but spiritual gifts as well. Helping them out just on a one-to-one level, just being there for them. That's a gift in and of itself. Just being there, aware, with the Dhamma in hand, helping them out. That's in and of itself a beneficial way of going about things, right? So let's contrast what the Buddha is saying about this here miser who's somehow managed to claw his way back to the human realm and is now stuck in this ridiculously terrible state, right? On the other hand, in this world, the sovereign emperor is one of the most revered by human beings. If he has reached this condition, it is because of the merits he has accumulated during his past lives. Compassionate and generous, he is given with largesse, right? So he's done everything he can to be like, hey, let's make it rain on everybody that we can. Humane, he has offered his assistance to others. And this, again, is going back to giving of the Dhamma, right? We can give that assistance to others by giving in the Dhamma, by giving them some sense of peace, some sense of calm that we, by our practice, are able to develop ourselves and show them how to do as well, right? He has cultivated the good. He did not feel animosity towards those who have resisted him. This is why when his life came to an end in a previous rebirth, he entered one of the fortunate rebirths according to his merits, and he was born high above in the heavens and there enjoyed great happiness. The virtues he accumulated have added further to his bliss. Now he's attained a human condition and obtained a birth in that realm, right? You do good things, you get good things. Obviously, you don't do good things so you can get good things. You do them because they're the right thing to do. The results will come of their own accord, right? If you do good, if you are generous, if you are helping others, if you are always out there serving and working with others to, giving them some measure of peace, the incalculable merit of doing that makes it worth doing every single time. Makes it the right thing to do every single time. And we, as followers of the Buddha's teaching, we have that, right? We have these instructions. The Buddha laid it out. He said why we need to do it. He said what we need to do. He said how we need to do it. Now all we have to do is go do that. It's time to be generous, people. It's time to be generous. Right? If you're going to be generous materially, which is totally doable, I'm not going to sit here and kind of like say, oh, go to this site or go to this organization. You find an organization. You be really attentive, as the Buddha was saying. You be really attentive and say, with conviction, I am doing the right thing by giving to this. Now, if you want to give of the Dhamma, which is way more meritorious, way better, way more beneficial, also do that. But do that with a special kind of awareness, right? A special kind of sensitivity towards those who may not already know what you're doing and may not particularly care if what you're doing meets the Dhamma, or if what you're doing with the Dhamma meets where they are, right? Be especially aware of how you are giving the gift and the spirit in which you are doing so. But give that gift, right? All right, I'm gonna leave it there. Dhamma Boots, you have your homework.